Okay, so because my last video was so dour and full of fucking rage, like I'm gonna do something that's it's not exactly bright and fun and funny, but it is a neat story. So the last time I went skiing, and excuse me, skiing is something that I've enjoyed since I was 2 years old, when my parents would tether a rope to me, and they would follow me along as I would go down the hill. Yes, I was one of those kids on a leash. Fucking laugh it up. Even when we weren't on the mountain, they put a leash on me when I was like 2 because I'd run around. I would like eat cigarette butts and bird shit. I know. And no wonder I'm so full of shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, before I go farther, I'm fucking, if you like this shit, comment so we can have a discussion. I'll fucking reply to you regardless of who you are, as long as you're not an asshole best friend who I've told to fucking leave me alone for the entirety of my life. Last video, we'll get into that if you're looking for context. Yeah, but just comment. I'm happy to have a fluid discussion with you. Like that would make me super happy, super happy, and so give me a little pat on the back, a little encouragement to keep on doing what I'm doing. Okay, let's get into it. So, last time I went skiing, I realized that there wasn't many drugs I could do on the mountain, because this was back when my nerve condition, like I have various central nervous system conditions, like it affected my vision for some weird reason, and it gave me like hella like open and closed eye hallucinations, like I was on acid. It was very weird. That changed over the years, and it turned into like transmuted into pain essentially. But in any case, I decided to do some GHB because GHB is fun, still fun to me. Not that I do it very often, but I would only do it in very low doses on the mountain. Like I'd do maybe like 2 mils of like moderate strength GHB, which is like typically half of what I do. And so that was just enough to kind of like loosen me up a bit, make me a little limber. And I did fucking fantastic that entire day. Did the double blacks, did the Sudan Couloir, which is like the hardest run on Olive Whistler Blackcomb. Like, I was kicking up some serious powder and like carving some like real fucking divots into the ice. But as many accidents tend to manifest, this one caught me on one of the bunny trails on the way down. It was actually the last run until we got to the car. And so essentially, and this was at the point where like I hadn't taken any GHB until I think 4 hours prior to that, so it had well worn off, because it only lasts about 2 hours. So I can't really blame that for like inebriating me and fucking me up. I was actually doing better when I was on it. And so what happened was, and this is like, again, with accidents, very hard to predict what happened when stuff like this happens. So essentially, I was kind of, what I was doing was going along, waiting for my dad. And so because the thing is, I always wanted to go fast, like super fast, like fucking bombing it down the hill. Total disregard for my own safety. I'm too old and like paranoid for that now. Like fucking look down around and be like, okay, if I fall, or if I trip, or if I hit a tree, there's nothing stopping me except for that tree or whatever I fall into. Like that's me now. Like seriously, same with my kind of, I've developed a fear of heights over the year. I used to have the opposite of that. But anyways. I very much credit this incident for kind of instilling that, the former part of that. So we get to the last run, and I don't see my dad, so I kind of stop on what I did not know was a big sheet of ice. And so I stop and like here's my skis. And I go shh, and like plop down like that on my back, on my ass, look up for my dad, and then my skis go and I spin around like that. And one of my boots pops off, and I'm just rolling down the mountain like head fucking first. And it's a good thing I had a helmet on. This is why you should wear a helmet when you're doing these kinds of sports, you know. And I went over a massive outcropping of rocks, like about maybe a 12-foot stretch of rocks. And I was so insanely lucky as a result of this. But like I went bang, 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 and like I banged my back up a bit, and I felt my helmet clip one of the rocks, but I had kind of like just glided over them in such like a bizarrely graceful way, despite screaming while I'm sliding down this mountain. I just went. Here's the outcropping. Just barely bounced off of them. So I was lucky as a motherfucker. My dad was watching that, and like he said, like that was like one of the scariest moments of his life. He thought I was a goner. Because as many of you know, if you're skiing and you go over rocks, it's not a good situation. There's not a lot of like, you know, recourse that's like not impactful, and that's not like utter like devastating to your bones and pretty much everything else. But that being said, I was pretty much fine except for a couple of small bruises, and like, you know, I think I had like a few open sores as a result, kind of like I think one on my knee. But because of the risk of a concussion, they had to take me, they had to like strap me down to one of those sleds and bring me down the mountain. And went to the hospital, did scans, go through the fucking motions. It's, you know, 6 hours of me going, oh fuck, I want to go home. I want to do some GHB, go to sleep. Fuck. They actually were going through my stuff, and they found the bottle of GHB, and they're like, what's this? Because it looks just like water. And I was like, water. And they're like, okay, can we throw it out? No. It's a very expensive water. Anyways, yeah, so they send me on my way. I'm fine. And then we go home, and so I thought the fucking terror was over. You would think the terror would be over by now. We'd get home. You know, I think I did a dose of GHB. Because once I had deliberately waited to make sure the concussion was cleared before I did any. Cleared the concussion. I did like a cap full, so like 2 mils, I think. Or no, more like, did about a cap and a half, so maybe like 3.5 mils. I get home, and I'm just like beat to shit, literally, and just, you know, tired as hell from, you know, being on the mountain from like, you know, 9 till 4 and having it end with a literally rocky finale, you know? And so I go up to my room, you know, because I'm someone who needs like an hour alone to myself, just fucking, you know, listening to a video or whatever. And so I was listening to Art Bell, I remember. I was listening to Dr. Michael Heisner. And this is funny because if you've watched my 40 Hits of Acid video, that was who I was listening to. Well, I wasn't listening to it. I was watching a documentary that had him talking. He was debunking the ancient aliens stuff. And so he's doing kind of the same thing on Art Bell. And I had done more GHB, and this I knew you could G-hole. Like, I knew GHB was a date rape drug. But I mean, so is alcohol. I thought it'd be like the same thing, where you just like kind of black out and then wake up and you're like, what the fuck happened? Why does my butthole hurt? Sorry. I don't mean to make a joke with that. That's not, sorry. You know, it's you know, a rape is not a funny situation. I can attest to that. Not that I am a rapist, but I have been on the receiving end of it. Anyways, so I basically, though, date raped myself. Gold sticker, buddy. All right. So I think I took about 4, and I guess because I still had 3 in my system. Because here's the funny thing about GHB, and this applies to other salt-based drugs like lithium that you take orally, like ketamine hydrochloride. That is a salt. This may apply if you take it orally, but most people don't take it orally because it requires much more, since your body metabolizes ketamine a lot more if you take it orally. But with most salt-based drugs, if you take it orally, what happens is your liver starts processing it. I could get some of the medical science wrong here, so please feel free to correct me if you really want to. But like, this is the gist of it. So the salt is held onto by your liver, and if you drink lots of water, then it flushes away the salt. So ergo, the blood going through there has less of that salt in it. If you don't drink very much water, however, that salt will continue to absorb, and it will grow and grow and grow, and so that means more blood passing through. Your liver is, concentrated with this substance. And since when I had taken it before we got in the car for the 2.5-hour car ride, which ended up being more of a 3.5-hour car ride because we were stuck in traffic on the way back, it must have been in like pretty high concentrations in my blood once I got home, and then I did like a pretty substantial dose when I got home. It's about 4 mils. And I don't really remember kind of going out of it. I remember it was sort of like sleep paralysis at first. Kind of this like, oh wait, I can't, why am I losing sort of the drive to, like, it feels weird. It's like a lethargy almost. Like you feel like you're kind of too lazy to pick up your limbs. That's what it felt like, similar to sleep paralysis. And then it gets to the point where it's just like, you really can't move much at all. So I was like, oh fuck, I think I know what's happening here. I'm G-holing. Now, this was a term I heard that's thrown around a lot. And I was hanging out with my ex, the drug dealer, and her friends, G-holing. Like K-holing, basically knocking yourself out on stuff. But I've looked up the term online, and I think I found like one entry on Urban Dictionary, but it is very accurate. I think it's scarier than K-holing, because K-holing lasts like less, a shorter amount of time. K-holing, I find I can still like get up and stuff, just not, I can't move around very well. But like this, you are completely fucking paralyzed. And oh boy, like, I was so confused. I completely fucking lost track of what was going on. I thought I was like dreaming or something. And mind you, Art Bell, interviewing Michael Heisner, is playing off this iPad beside me the whole time. And so I started hallucinating that like I'm essentially like a cripple with some sort of like mental deficiency going on. And like I'm like paralyzed in this wheelchair, and I'm in this giant like dark theater, and then up on the podium where this giant brilliant white light is shining is Dr. Michael Heisner, and he's smiling, and he's like just delivering the best speech ever. He's a smart guy. Everything he says sounds like it's almost scripted. It could be, for all I know. I mean, I don't follow him that much, but I mean, he's a very eloquent guy. I mean, he fucking translated all the Sumerian text. I don't know how that translates to eloquent, but it does in his case. I hazard a guess there. Anyways. And so he's talking, and in my state, I am thinking I am actually like mentally disabled, not in like the sense that like I'm already like major depressive, central nervous system sensitivity, all this nerve pain, blah blah blah, but like full on like can't move, like Down syndrome kind of disabled. And so I'm going, he's so smart. He's so smart. And yeah, so that went on for about 2 hours because Art Bell, if you ever listen to Art Bell, it's a long show. And I remember coming out of it, and it did the same thing as sleep paralysis, where I had false awakenings, where like I would start to be able to move like one of my limbs, and then I would see myself, oh, I got it. and then, okay, we're doing it, get up, and then start to move around a bit, but stuff still doesn't feel quite right, doesn't feel like natural movement, and then, oh shit, bam, back in my body. Sucked, really sucked. It actually put me off doing GHB for a long time, up until just, this was probably in my early 20s, and I stopped doing GHB because of this until about a couple months ago. And I've only done it a few times since then. It's not something I really actively seek out. It's fun when you're partying or you're, getting down with a woman or a man, whatever the fuck. It's good for that. And as far as natural substances go, it's about as natural as they come. Not in terms of how they make it, but in terms of it being abundant and just, organic matter. Especially the human body. GABA hydroxybutanic acid, I believe. That's why you get sleepy after you eat turkey or fish, but I digress. So, eventually I came out of it. It was like sleep paralysis, but it was slower. The awakening was slower. And for anyone who's had sleep paralysis, it seems to last an eternity, even though it's supposedly only 15 seconds to 60, even though I feel like I've counted to well over 300 when I've had sleep paralysis. It's not supposed to last that long. It just suspends your comprehension time. And so I remember though, my limbs slowly coming back to me and slowly being able to roll over, but I remember I even rolled over almost onto my face. So I was kind of like this, trying to get in as much breath as I could, just in case I did roll over a little bit more, sealing the entrances for oxygen into my body and brain, which would have sucked. Yeah, no thank you. But I came out of it and I was kind of like, what the fuck just happened? And I was like, oh yeah, GHB. Now, after that, as I said, I didn't do it for a long time. I was like, nope, this is just bad shit. And another thing that added to that was I saw when I was in detox once for a Xanax addiction that formed after only 3 weeks of daily use. I saw this little Asian dude who was he looked very rich, he looked very fit and everything, but this fucking guy had a very bad GHB addiction, and it was the worst withdrawal symptoms I've ever seen and heard in anyone. He was fucking puking every 5 seconds for days. It was horrid. But it's like alcohol. You have to be doing it every day, multiple times a day for years for that to happen. But those two factors really precluded me from doing it for a long time. Again, I don't seek it out. It's not that fantastic of a high. Unless you're fucking. But in that case, it's on par with fucking MDMA, except you have a better chance of, having an actual orgasm. Just MDMA, sometimes I just can't even get up sometimes with MDMA if I'm on too much of it. But anyways, it's otherwise it's not that bad of a drug. Honestly, 90% of date rape is committed with alcohol. And that story of that my flame who stabbed me that one time, where she just fed me vodka shot after vodka shot after vodka shot, blacked out. As soon as she knew I was blacked out, she starts sucking my face and then pulls me into my room and fucking from secondhand accounts, people say we fucked. She was apparently blacked out too, but for a long time I thought that she had basically knowingly date raped me. And alcohol it makes me feel worse. I mean, GHB I think is a very good substitute for alcohol. Do not use them together. That is a fucking death sentence. Seriously. I have one friend who does it and drinks and then does 4 other drugs at the same time, but she's a fucking beast, this one. Like, she knows her limit. She knows what she's doing. But I'm telling you, do not mix downers and downers. It's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. It's a potentially fatal idea, if anything. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the weirdest drug experiences I've had, and that's saying something. It was completely like as I said, I remember like going into it, but then when I was into it, like into that that like hypnagogic kind of state or whatever, or somnambulant state, I can't remember which is which, is, you know, sort of like kind of like half asleep sort of state. I didn't remember that, so I just remembered being in this weird dream, or I just knew I was in this weird dream, and that very strange stuff was happening, and like it was just so disorienting and so uncomfortable, and like so. Most people I talked to who've been there themselves did enough to where they like full on blacked out and then just like woke up later on, a couple hours later, with no memory whatsoever of what happened. And like anything, you know, it's about moderation. You know, you got to know your limit dose within it. You can easily do this to yourself with cannabis edibles. I've seen people on the fucking ground after taking cannabis edibles, like, you know, I have a buddy who, like, he used to work for like the tryouts or some shit. He's done every drug under the sun. When he goes like this, like, there's a big whistling sound because he's got a hole in his septum from fucking doing like just more coke than I could ever imagine. And he's done every drug under the sun because of all the festivals and shit he's done too. He's gone to, and he smokes more weed than anyone I know, including myself, which is a lot. Fucking, like, he was like, I refuse to do edibles because nothing has put me on my ass like an edible. Like, seriously, I offered this dude chonga for one, just out of the blue, once. And he was like, fuck yeah, I love chonga. It's like a psychedelic popper. Let's do some. Like, you know, my point is that anything, like I said, alcohol, 91% of date rapes, you know, it's about moderation. Know your limit dose within it. That being said, comment, like, sub. Do the Holy Trinity for me. Do the oh, I'm gonna use this from now on. I'm gonna use this from now on. Comment, like, or no, subscribe, like, comment. All right, wait, it's two in the pink, one in the stink. I mean, I've never done this to someone because I'm, you know, I try to be a somewhat classy dude when I'm going into holes, but do the two in the pink, one in the stink for me. Like, sub, and then comment for that stink eye. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Fucking gross, right? Anyways, I'll catch y'all later. Have a fucking wonderful day.